key reasons for potentialism. The Western world has the following big, immediately existential risks. One, a debt collapse for the US dollar in the next 10 years, and with it, probably most Western currencies. Many industries will also collapse in multiple big shock waves rippling all over the world. Two, with that, or independently due to civil, trade, or military wars and pandemics, many supply chains will break, e.g., for key medications, computer chips, spare parts, energy, which will lead to further big, extremely detrimental ripple effects and the loss of many lives. Three, disruptions from AI and robotics, exploding fake news, collapse of marketing and sales, as most are using bots delivering millions of empty messages, job loss, withheld investments by companies who will wait and see, recessions and big power shifts to, e.g., China, suggesting that a few ethics principles won't be sufficient. Four, high inflation, unsupportable inequalities, injustices, poverty, and political divides that are leading to explosions in crime and possibly civil wars. Collapsing public functions like law enforcement, education, and healthcare. You will be likely to die from a curable disease or killed in a robbery. Worse than climate change is the pollution with chemicals from corporations, radioactivity, and GMOs. Resource scarcity, minerals, skilled people, finances. The baby boomers are retiring people. E.g., there are neither enough minerals nor power lines for the green transition. Don't get me wrong, I am not anti-green. I just know that our current focus, that has been the same focus for the past decade, is completely not working. There are no signs of the green transition ever becoming profitable or becoming a job machine, nor is there a strategy around it that's been published. It all just doesn't seem to make any sense. Exploding illness is number 9 due to pollution and harmful medicines or vaccines, addictions, and mental health crisis. Western politicians bought us only a little bit of time regarding past crises, but now all of these crises are catching up to us with a vengeance, and that can easily lead to total collapse. Historic activism models no longer work, sadly. Upgrading our socio-economic model is of the highest importance to solve these biggest problems because they're all directly or indirectly rooted in our exploitative capitalism and thus have to be cured at that level to possibly avoid other threats or to rebuild after a collapse. Current leaders are too selfish and corrupt. They're not real leaders. This can only be solved by bringing objective science and AI in towards finding optimal solutions. We at Potentialism, or Percon Flow, PCF for short, probably have the first and only model that can solve the top 30 problems of the world. And that just by upgrading capitalism with a minimal set of changes to achieve this. It can also be used to rebuild after a collapse. Don't forget that. PCF key points are science-based politics, applying and implementing the best possible solutions in each field. Optimal incentives for Earth that don't reward the exploitation of nature or people, that doesn't create problems in order to earn from expensive solutions like vaccinations from a pandemic. Creating optimized strategies that are amalgamated, aided and checked by AI to avoid gaps or deceptions, fighting all kinds of corruption, fraud, greenwashing, delusion, false narratives, and lies. Introducing fair accounting and planning with the 6 capitals framework, taking also nature and people into account. Donut economics, avoiding recessions, which are abused, artificially created, or aggravated in order to fire people or depress wages. Latest scientific insights in all domains, and flow learning leading to 5x improvements. Doesn't that sound exciting? PCF versus other initiatives. Other initiatives fall short of trying to fix the higher level dysfunctionalities or corruption and false incentives, unscientific or outright evil agendas, marked as things that inadvertently went wrong, but without holding often unelected leaders accountable, and distraction, deceit, manipulation around that. People, we know what good leadership is, and we have for decades, if not 100 years. The fact that we don't have real leadership now, it's on purpose. We have to wake up to that and come to a realistic solution. Ethics initiatives, as much as I love ethics and values, these initiatives tend to result in either being fig leaves that cover up the evil forces behind them, and then these outrageous corporations point to their high moral values, like the DEI initiative that did nothing, and ESG did nothing. Or they end up being the clutter that sounds good, but it won't have a big effect in reality. Then typically loopholes are included, or words are changed out with new interpretations. So the well-meaning ideas are turned into the opposite. We see this happening on the Senate floor today with new bills and the pork that gets inserted. It's just crazy. To my knowledge, it has never happened in Earth's history that evil, rich, or powerful people gave up profits or control just because somebody proposed a more ethical alternative. I think more change than making such ethical proposals is really necessary. Being an activist is often a relatively well-paid job, funded by rich people trying to manipulate the public opinion. Most vulnerable people with problems, e.g., mental health issues or addictions, are recruited, and their problems are unfairly and generalizing unscientific ways. They're blamed on others to align them with the causes of their funders. This is done in an undemocratic way. Climate activists blaming private CO2 emissions for climate change and their lowered perspectives, even though these people often have no real alternatives and are not the root cause. For example, banning wood-fired pizza ovens in New York City will severely negatively impact small businesses and the people living there, but it will have nary an impact on our climate compared to solving the commercial airlines emissions problems, or the hydrofluorocarbons, the HFCs, or anesthetic gases. In all cases, the super rich have to innovate, and then they're going to roll out those implementations as they mature in their factories. Speaking of climate change activism, I'm on a roll here. What have the trillions of dollars that have already been invested done? What have they achieved for nature worldwide? Which KPIs have improved and how much? Please let us know in the comments. Has anything been done beyond greenwashing, not including some very genuine projects that have succeeded from some very real altruists? But aside from that, is there a complete strategy and a realistic cost estimate around hydrogen technology, fusion technology? Why not? We know roughly 70% of the solutions to climate change. But why are they, especially when they affect the companies of the rich, not being implemented? Hotels and corporations in developing nations can, instead of purchasing billions of bottles of water, they could buy high quality filtration devices. Why are they not? Why don't we ask companies like Nestle, who make these billions of bottles of water? Is there actually any way the green transition could be made profitable? Or is there a way for it to become a job machine? Here's another point. Is it a coincidence that the personal carbon footprint was actually invented by British Petroleum and they have spent millions of dollars marketing it? Check links in the comments for the facts. So these initiatives distract the public attention from best solutions to all key problems. Why are these agendas that are the implementation of the billionaires not solving anything? Inconsistencies, hypocrisies, lies, and fraud. Many green initiatives are greenwashing, up to the most prestigious ones. For example, electronic vehicles, EVs, they just haven't matured, I'm sorry to say, and they have to go up to 100 kilometers to just break even due to the many minerals required, whose known quantity is only sufficient to replace a small proportion of the current cars, and only if the power lines and power plants are sufficient. In fact, they would only break even if the nearest power plant were fully ecological, as green electricity can't be bought and transferred in the current grid. There are also insufficient electricity storage solutions and no mature other strategies, especially not where needed, most around hydrogen and nuclear fusion tech. But with high CO2 taxes, citizens are ripped off, businesses become uncompetitive, and billionaires and their media don't care at all with their space tourism, which produces as many climate gases as millions of average citizens. I haven't even gotten to the evil nature of the supply chain for EVs. Truly ethical, scientifically objective initiatives don't receive much attention. Like a grumpy farmer's son. If he has a solution, we could hear it. It could be implemented, but that's not happening. Who of the establishment would want that? The consequences of per con flow are wonderful. Far more efficient governance and use of resources. The most effective and efficient lever to get things done. If you want to help advance any good cause in your life, per-con flow is the most efficient lever. We can then use the freed up resources to solve what else is important for you and for me. We have to fix this fear, anger, hate culture, climate, of course, and nature, education, healthcare, law enforcement, brittle supply chains, transport, defense. I want to fix all of it systemically. This is probably the first and only realistic way to get around the impending cataclysms, financial, resource, and ecological breakdown. Especially the US dollar cannot survive the $1 trillion in debt that's created every 100 days. Civil, military, and trade wars, pandemics, natural disasters, infrastructure breakdown. It's high time to become active in a real solution-oriented way. Good ideas don't spread themselves, especially when there are so many false narratives and beliefs. Thus, please help us by liking and commenting. I really want your feedback. Feedback is always a gift. Subscribe, share our content, join our communities, give us your input. And links, check the links in the description and in the profile. We are probably the first ones to have a comprehensive analysis and solution for these top 30 problems in the US. So join us now. Thanks for listening.